I think Israel would do anything within its power to derail this so-called deal. And
Yes.
that can be done by increasing the intensity of their attack in Lebanon, which would, to some extent, unravel Iran and other states in the region. What Trump is going to say tomorrow, even Trump doesn't know. So, Trump is a new synonym for unpredictability. So, what he's going to say tomorrow, nobody knows. So, it's very difficult to predict. Even I think an astrologer will find it difficult to say how long will it last. But at the moment, as I said, both sides have a reason to maintain peace, at least for some time, because Trump's personality is such that he would try to project everything as his victory. He's actually projecting as if that this peace deal is nothing but Iran's subjugation. So he is emboldened to try this at other places. I think till midterm polls and a conclusive victory for Democrats, I think he'll continue to dominate the global politics in a manner that he is. But there is no doubt that after this, the Europeans will have to start looking de novo at having a collective security organization independent of the United States. And what the Spanish
So
Prime
does it
Minister.
mean the end of NATO? Beginning of the end of NATO?
Yeah, to my mind, I think if Trump presidency continues and his policies continue, I think it's certainly the beginning of the end of the NATO. See, there is no doubt that there'll be a big reconsideration in Gulf states because till now they used to believe that the very presence of US bases in their territory guarantees their security. But now that myth has been shattered. Now it's been very clearly articulated, shown that just because you have United States bases in your country does not guarantee your security. In fact, it's a provocation and it actually makes a security risk.
Hi, welcome to Podcast with Pratim. I have with me Captain Alok Bansal. He is Executive Vice President and Secretary General of India Foundation, a Delhi-based think tank. We will discuss on the on how stable is the ceasefire situation in Mid East. So that takes me to the question. Mr. Trump had suddenly made a U-turn. The hours before he promised to bomb, and the language is such that we cannot spell it out on YouTube. I might get strikes for obscenity, but he just promised to obliterate a civilization. And suddenly he made a U-turn and found the proposals of Iran workable. Now, the problem is that only, the proposals ran just contrary to the proposals of US. So what is the future of this ceasefire?
See, as far as this ceasefire is concerned, and we need to be very clear, while there is no doubt that Trump made a big U-turn, and that was dictated to a very great extent because of his domestic compulsions. We need to understand that domestically the war was extremely unpopular. A very significant section of his support base was militating against this war, and he was losing support. Even within his close group, Vice President Vance was quite against it, and he reluctantly went along with the president. So there was a pressure, and he wanted a fig leaf. At the same time, contrary to what many people believe, there was a section within Iran which wanted the war to stop. And this we need to be very clear. If you read Zarif's proposal in Foreign Affairs, which came and which talked that there should be a deal. So there was, I think, Iran also wanted a ceasefire. Both of them were looking for some sort of a fig leaf. And that's why Iran sent a 10-point proposal, which to my mind was a reasonable proposal by and large, except for the proposal to charge ships going through Strait of Hormuz, which runs contrary to international laws. I think besides that, more or less, their proposals were okay and acceptable. And I think Trump's policy has been to pressurize the opponent into succumbing. When he saw that even after his biggest threat, the opponent was not uh, procrastinating, I think he decided that it was a time for a deal. And I think that is where he went for a deal. I must make it very clear that there was a significant section of Iranian establishment which also wanted a deal. Because please understand, the pain in Iran was also immense. It was their strength, intrinsic strength, being a civilizational strength, state, that they were able to withstand such a big pounding. Of course, they could have continued the war, but at great pain to themselves. So I think both sides were keen to have a ceasefire. The How stable will the ceasefire depends on Israel to a very great extent. So we need to understand that Israel was one actor for who this continuing violence was in their interest. Their long-term interest was in weakening Iran as much as was feasible. And to that extent, they have put the biggest spanner in the this so-called peace deal when Iran said that the peace deal also pertains to Lebanon, because that is the statement which emanated from Pakistani Prime Minister as well. But Israel said very clearly that the peace deal does not pertain to Lebanon. And they have carried out a devastating attack today in Lebanon, which has killed close to 90 people and have injured about 700 others. So I think Israel would do anything within its power to derail this so-called deal. And that can be done by increasing the intensity of their attack in Lebanon, which would, to some extent, unravel Iran and other states in the region.
Right. Now, about charging a fee, I think even Mr. Trump said it that we will control Hormuz and we will charge a fee. Mr. Uday Kotak came out and today said that it is neo-colonization. Regarding the, as you said, that it is not in Israel's interest. I mean, Israel will keep disrupting the peace process. We have seen in the past when they attacked, all these things happened. So, what do you expect now? Will the two, and you're very right that Iran is, after 20 years of sanction, they are fighting a war. So obviously they are not in good health. But how stable would this ceasefire be and for how long? Is it over for now? If so, for how many days?
See, there is a very big question that you're asking, because what Trump is going to say tomorrow, even Trump doesn't know. So Trump is a new synonym for unpredictability. So what he's going to say tomorrow, nobody knows. So it's very difficult to predict. Even I think an astrologer will find it difficult to say how long will it last. But at the moment, as I said, both sides have a reason to maintain peace, at least for some time. And here, when you talk of that Trump also wanted to charge and Iran also wanted to charge, in any case, Trump's actions are nothing but neo-colonization. Actually, if you see, starting from Venezuela and now trying to say that we'll take this or we'll take that, this is neo-colonization. But I think the global community, by and large, would have taken a sigh of relief because of this particular peace deal, because that had made life much simpler for the global community. The energy resources which were coming under serious pressure would be available. Though, let me make it very clear, I think availability of natural gas to customers in Asia would still take a few weeks, because some of the facilities that were shut down in Qatar, etc., will take a few weeks before they can be put online. Also, the clearing of backlog of the ships transiting through Strait of Hormuz also will take some time. And I think Iraq, etc., which have capped some of their wells, will have to restart production. So that would take some time. But the very news itself has lowered crude prices significantly, and it will continue to do so.
Right.
And from India's point of view, it was very important for us that the Gulf states uh, and their economy is not further battered by Iranian attacks, because that would have led to a lot of problems for India, because India can tide over the energy shock, can tide over the crude shortage, but will find it very difficult to get over in case the remittances which come from this region are curtailed and the people have to relocate back to India. That would have costed a lot as far as India was concerned.
Did India issue any evacuation order to Indians in Iran?
Yeah, Iran, they said that they should remain in wherever they are and should take cover, and they should try to leave Iran only under embassies' directions. This, I think, the statement came yesterday.
Right.
That's what I believe. So, and earlier also, Indians had suggested to nationals in Iran that they should leave Iran as far as possible. So that was there. But see, Indians in Iran is not an issue. Indians in Gulf states is a bigger issue because
Dubai,
we have millions
Dubai,
and millions of there. So
right?
that's what.
Right. Well, I don't expect gas supplies to be normal anytime soon, because 20% of the production facilities are affected, and Oman, a lot of storage depots are stuck. So it will take time to normalize things, but of course, a huge sigh of relief. Now, the more critical question: what will it have a significance, any significance on the geopolitics? Will Mr. Trump now stop his warmongering? The next, he said, it will be Cuba, Greenland. I mean, he just lined it up. So do you think that there will be a correction?
I'm not too very sure, because Trump's personality is such that he would try to project everything as his victory. He's actually projecting as if that this peace deal is nothing but Iran's subjugation. So he is emboldened to try this at other places. I think till midterm polls and a conclusive victory for Democrats, I think he'll continue to dominate the global politics in a manner that he is. Of course, after Iran, he may be a little circumspect, because the news emanating from Washington, D.C. indicate that large number of war resources of U.S. armed forces have also been depleted. So the ability to mount another attack or something to some extent will be restricted. But there is no doubt that after this, the Europeans will have to start looking de novo at having a collective security organization independent of the United States. And what the Spanish
So
Prime
does it
Minister
mean that end of NATO? Beginning of the end of NATO?
Yeah, to my mind, I think if Trump presidency continues and his policies continue, I think it's certainly the beginning of the end of the NATO, and probably it could lead to rearming of the European states and maybe some sort of a European security mechanism. Even in the Gulf now, there will
Yes,
be a lot
that was
of
my question. When Iran struck, in fact, they struck these GCC countries because of the due to the US bases. So will there be a reconsideration?
See, there is no doubt that there will be a big reconsideration in Gulf states, because till now they used to believe that the very presence of US bases in their territory guarantees their security. But now that myth has been shattered. Now it's been very clearly articulated, shown that just because you have United States bases in your country does not guarantee your security. In fact, it's a provocation, and it actually makes a security risk. And you need to understand that almost all these Gulf states are autocratic regimes, and they need some sort of a security guarantee, which United States was providing them till now. Now, with after this conflict, there is bound to be a reconsideration. In fact, after the previous round of attacks on Iran, we saw Saudi Pakistan joint defense agreement.
Right.
So that was a result of that particular attack. Now, after this conflict, you might see many such other defense agreements with other powers that many of the Gulf states would start striking.
So the same logic would apply to the US bases elsewhere, isn't it? In our neighborhood, they are trying it in Bangladesh, they are trying it in Nepal, kind of. So
I
will
don't think so.
anyway
I
the
think these are
sentiment be
more,
affected?
this is more a matter of conjecture than facts. I haven't got any factual information that US is seeking a base in Bangladesh or Nepal. This is, I think, more of a rumor mongering. I don't think so. The US bases in our neighborhood, I think even Afghanistan has refused to give them Bagram, which they have been seeking. And at the moment, unlike in the past, I don't think so they have a substantial base even in Pakistan. So their bases are primarily in Middle East, in Iraq, and in Persian Gulf states, all of them. Besides that, of course, they are using the British Indian Ocean territory, which, according to the recent agreement, is now a Mauritian territory on a long-term lease to the Britain.
So would you call, I mean, just to wrap up, would you call it a paradigm shift moment in uh, Middle Eastern geopolitics, Middle Eastern, Europe? I mean,
I think it is still premature because I'm not too sure whether this peace deal will hold on, what is going to be the future. Because when conflict started, a lot of things were thought. In fact, if the conflict initially it was felt that it would probably lead to restructuring of the Middle East because Israeli objective was the creation of a Kurdish state from the debris of Iran, which did not happen. So I don't know how it will work out, but now I think Israel is seeking territory in southern Lebanon. Uh,
same Turkey is seeking territory.
Turkey has already occupied certain territory in Syria, northern Syria. It has already got. Israel also has a certain area under their control in southern Syria. But what Israel is actually looking for is some supporters in the region. Like now, they have, for the first time, certain communities which are looking up to Israel. There was a time when Maronite Christians in Lebanon sometimes looked up to Israel, not now. But certainly, Druze in Syria and Kurds are looking up to Israel to provide them security. So Israel now has certain communities which sympathize and which expect security from Israel.
Okay. And should it anyway? I mean, I don't think that India is just will be gung ho to go for this Chabahar port immediately. Do you think so?
See, Chabahar port is a dead issue now. Let's be very frank. The US had given us exemption because Chabahar provided access to Afghanistan. But yes, if all sanctions are withdrawn as per the 10-point plan, because the peace deal does not say whether the 10-point plan has been agreed to in toto. So if that is agreed and all sanctions are, then yes, Chabahar could be the fountainhead of a north-south corridor, which would
So
start from.
not an issue to talk about at this moment.
Yes.
I
Thank you.
think we should end this over here. Thanks for joining the podcast.
Thank you.